affirm that you will truly, accurately, and impartially interpret in the matter now before the court and not divulge confidential communications?
I do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Guerrero. If the other parties could identify themselves for the record, please.
Jonathan Blair, Assistant Allegan County Prosecutor.
Assistant Public Defender Dario Sierra appearing on behalf of Mr. Rojas-Chanito.
And Mr. Rojas-Chanito, correct.
Identificación regular.
Joel Rojas-Chanito.
Joel Rojas-Chanito.
Thank you. Mr. Rojas-Chanito, today is the date and time set for sentencing in this matter.
Señor Rojas-Chanito, este es el día para su sentencia y asentar su caso.
Do you think you've had enough time to review the pre-sentence report and discuss that with your attorney?
¿Usted cree que tuvo suficiente tiempo para revisar el reporte antes de la sentencia con su abogado? Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll start with you, Mr. Sierra. Any additions, corrections? Actually, I'm sorry. Is there anything else you need to address, Mr. Rojas-Chanito, before we proceed with the sentencing?
¿Hay algo más que quiera añadir antes de proseguir por el proceso? No.
Okay. Any additions, corrections, or deletions, Mr. Sierra?
No additions, only challenges to scoring.
Okay. Mr. Blair, any additions, corrections, or deletions to the pre-sentence investigation report?
Nope, just one objection to scoring.
Okay. Mr. Sierra, I'll go to you first. Any objections to the scoring?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Defense at this time would object to OB 12 being scored at 25 for 3 crimes against a person. As the court had previously asked, defense sent an email regarding the argument for that, that being OB 12 requires 3 crimes against a person that have not and will not result in conviction or a separate conviction. And in this situation, Your Honor, defense is arguing that the reduction from OWI causing death to serious impairment would not quantify 3 crimes against a person that have not resulted in conviction. It would only use 2 other charges that were dismissed, not resulting in conviction, in which would make the scoring proper at 10 points, not 25. The argument does not change the sentencing guidelines.
Before I get a response from you, Mr. Blair, I want to put this on pause. It's been brought to my attention we have a victim that has joined us via Zoom, and I want to make sure that they can watch every part of this proceeding. Good morning, ma'am. We're on the record in Joel Rojas-Chanito case file. Is that what you were here for?
I'm here for, I'm Tracy Lynn Decker's sister, Christina Wallace.
Okay, Ms. Wallace. We have just started to discuss the scoring of the guidelines in this matter. I'm just going to mute you for now, but I wanted you to be able to hear what we're saying in the courtroom, okay? I apologize for letting you in a little bit late, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Sierra, I heard your argument in regards to OB 12. Mr. Blair, any response?
We believe the scoring is accurate at 25. He pled to an additional count 4.
So right now, he still has operating while intoxicated causing death, failure to stop at the scene causing death, and operating with license suspended causing death. All 3 of those are person crimes under law, and so right now, he still has 3 pending crimes that won't result in a conviction, because if the sentencing successfully goes through today, we will be dismissing those. So we believe that meets. My question was if the person crimes, but I checked, and all 3 are person crimes. So right now, there's 4 crimes pending, and he's going to have a conviction on 1.
All right, thank you. Anything else in regards to OB 12, Mr. Sierra?
Your Honor, the only thing I would say is that it's an added count for purposes of the plea. It is a reduction of count 1. Therefore, I just read the argument.
All right. Mr. Blair, I understand what you're indicating, but the court feels that as a lesser included, that criminal behavior is taken into account. And so with the failure to stop at the scene of an accident causing death and the driving with license suspended causing death, those are 2 additional charges with very distinct and different elements. Certainly if there was another individual that had been physically injured in this case, I would see your argument as very compelling, but I am going to score that at 10 points as opposed to 25 points. Were there any other challenges from you, Mr. Sierra, in regards to scoring?
Your Honor, the only other thing would address would be Mr. Blair. I don't believe there's an objection to being scored at 0 under OB 19.
An OB 19 has no objection to it, Your Honor.
Okay, with no objection from either party, OB 19 will now be scored at 0. So are we at 95? Is that correct for total OBs? Let me see here.
90. Your Honor. We might 15 points off of OB 12, 10 points off of.
I'm very humble when I feel I recognize I am not in that condition. Is that also what you get, Mr. Blair?
Yes, Your Honor.
I do get 90 when I take a
Yes.
second count off. Okay, and does that change the guideline minimum range?
No, Your Honor. The grid max is out at 75.
Okay, so we're still at 0 to 17. Would you agree, Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Any other issues we need to address in regards to scoring?
Yes, Your Honor, OB 3, physical injury to a victim. OB 3 is scored for all felony offenses, and, the victim did die in this case, so it's not a homicide, it's legally 100 points would be the correct scoring in this matter. Factually, even though he pled to a lesser, factually, the person did die, and so this is a proper scoring even under an injury plea. Thank you, Your Honor.
Response to that, Mr. Sierra?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. In reviewing the sentencing guidelines, I believe it's clear that for a score of 50 points, which is the current scoring, a victim was killed and the death results from the commission of a crime, and the offense or attempted offense involves the operation of a vehicle under circumstances defined by law. So I believe it's contemplated in this circumstance that with the motor vehicle being involved, that the proper scoring would be 50 points. So I believe that the scoring is proper.
Oh, Your Honor, I will concede 50 points. I misread the first sentence. You see what I did? I'll concede that.
Okay, fantastic. OB 3 will stay at 50 points. Any other objections, Mr. Blair?
No other objections, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else from you, Mr. Sierra?
I have nothing further in regards to challenges.
All right, then PRV level will be 0A and OB level will be 90. I wanna make sure.
Be 6, Your Honor.
6, thank you. With a minimum guideline range, advisory guideline range of 0 to 17 months. Mr. Blair, any victims present that would like to make a statement?
Ms. Wallace, the sister, is here and her child is present. Could you, Ms. Wallace, first? I appreciate it.
Ms. Wallace, can you help us and unmute yourself? Okay, I think you're good now.
Yes, I just did. Yes, I'd like to make a statement, if the court will allow me to, and I know that my niece, Braylon, my sister's daughter, would also like to make a statement.
All right, Ms. Wallace, what would you like the court to be made aware of?
Okay, I have a statement prepared, just a moment, please. Your Honor, my name is Christina Wallace, sister of Tracy Lynn Decker. In less than a month, it'll be exactly 1 year since I lost my only sister, leaving me with no living adult family members. Tracy's daughter, my beautiful niece Braylon, is the only family I have left now. And it will be exactly 1 year that my niece was brutally and incomprehensibly deprived of her mom as a direct result of the defendant's selfish and intentional disregard for the safety of others. My sister Tracy was, above all, a survivor. For all intents and purposes, she was a single mother warrior. She battled bipolar disorder most of her adult life and depression, especially following the untimely death of our mom from cancer in 2017. Tracy won her own battle against cancer, breast cancer, after having to undergo a double mastectomy in her early 40s and a hysterectomy. And Tracy was open and honest with everybody about her struggles and medical challenges. In fact, if there's one thing Tracy disliked, it was when others weren't as honest about their struggles as she was. And she had a wonderful, quirky sense of humor, which often helped her deal with these issues. And she could be really funny when she wanted to be. Other than her greatest love, her daughter, Tracy had great love and compassion for animals, having rescued and adopted many dogs and cats over the years. But that all ended on September 19th, 2024, as she was bicycling home with my niece on a peaceful early autumn night. My sister and niece had decided to ride their bikes to Thursday night karaoke in town for a fun night out together. On the way home, they stopped at the local Dollar General to buy a gallon of milk, cat litter for her cats, and some flashlights for the ride home. After the store, while on their bicycles, a drunk driver, who had been to another local store to buy even more alcohol, even though he had already been drinking all throughout the day, violently struck Tracy's bicycle, killing her right in front of her daughter. This drunk driver then fled the scene, abandoning my sister on the road, and went home to continue drinking, and then fell asleep. His depraved indifference to his actions is incomprehensible. In an instant, not only was my niece left without her mother, even worse, she was forced to witness the accident that caused her mom's death, and had to report it to a neighbor, and then to the police by calling 911. Scared and alone on a dark road at night, my then 12-year-old niece was suddenly put in the most horrifying scenario anyone could imagine for a child. Even though Tracy and I grew up in South Haven, I live in Spain, so with the confusion of what had happened, plus the 6-hour time difference, I didn't even find out about Tracy's death until almost 12 hours later when a friend of hers called me. Can you imagine what a phone call like that does to a person, especially being so far away? And then to find out that she had been hit by someone who just took off and didn't even help her. And worst of all, that my niece was with her and saw the whole thing happen right in front of her eyes. On the morning of September 20th, 2024, I learned that my only sister had been killed the night before. A reckless drunk driver did to my sister what cancer and depression couldn't. I flew home to Michigan as fast as I possibly could. When I saw my niece, she described everything that she had witnessed that night, what she had felt, heard, and saw in incredible detail. I was amazed at the strength and the maturity of this 12-year-old girl as she told me everything. Since then, my niece and I have had our world turned upside down. She has had to go to live with local relatives on her father's side of the family, losing her mother, her home, and her beloved rescue pets. I have been forced to travel back and forth from Spain to Michigan twice in 6 months, and forced to do things that I would never want anyone to have to do. Call Wishbone Pet Rescue and the Allegan County Animal Shelter to come pick up and rehome my sister's many beloved pets. Go through her house and her belongings every day for weeks to sort, donate, and pack up her things, which made me feel like I was violating her privacy. I've had to put her house up for sale, a house that once belonged to my grandparents and then to my mom, and has been in our family for decades. I had to go to the Allegan County Sheriff's Office to pick up the purse she was carrying that night and her personal belongings. I had to make arrangements with the funeral home in Fenville. And worst of all, deal with the anger, frustration, pain, and a whole list of other emotions in losing my sister because of some drunk driver. These and many other surreal actions are just reminders to me that my sister Tracy is, in fact, gone forever. I have tremendous resentment for the drunken actions that forced me to have to do all of these things, even though I did them willingly out of love for my sister and for my niece. Giving this statement is one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do, but my sister deserves to have her story heard. She is just not going to be some nameless victim. She was Tracy Lynn Decker, sister, mother, and friend. And above all, I want this court and the whole world to know that my sister's actions on that fatal night, September 19th, 2024, helped to save her daughter's life before Tracy was hit and killed. The last selfless act of a mother who loved her daughter so much that she sacrificed her own life to protect her. My niece told me that when she and my sister were only a few minutes from the safety of their own driveway, they both heard the SUV roaring down the road in their direction, coming way too fast. They couldn't see it since there was a 90-degree curve in the road, but in the calm of the night, in a quiet wooded area, they could certainly hear it coming. My sister was riding slightly behind my niece and off to her right, and she started shouting frantically at my niece, "Scoot over, scoot over." Those were my sister's exact words, "Scoot over, scoot over." At that spot on the road, there's like a little embankment. My niece and I walked along the road, and she showed me exactly where they had been that night. Thanks to my sister's warning, my niece was able to get up the little embankment with her bicycle and off the road just in time as she saw the SUV coming around the 90-degree curve, drunkenly swerving from side to side. Sadly, my sister didn't have enough time to get out of the way, and she was hit and thrown 180 feet, and her bicycle dragged away, stuck up underneath the SUV, sparks flying everywhere in the darkness of the night. The estimated speed of the SUV when she was hit was between 52 and 70 miles per hour. My sister's bicycle was found later, completely mangled. She died face down on the asphalt in the middle of the westbound lane of 111th Avenue. She was only 50 years old. Tracy's hit and run death was a tragic incident, but it was not an accident. There was nothing accidental about it. Tracy's death was a direct result of the deliberate, selfish, and heartless actions of a drunk driver. On the night of September 19th, 2024, a completely avoidable death occurred, destroying the lives of those who loved my sister, especially my young niece. Your Honor, thank you for allowing me to share Tracy's story today. I hope this helps the court understand the depth of our family's loss. The defendant will never really know what he has done to me and to my niece. Who knows, he may even forget about my sister in time. But I will never forget. And my niece, who's still too young to understand the impact of what going through the rest of her life without a mother means, she will never forget. Your Honor, I thank you in advance for delivering a just and fair sentence in Tracy's memory, and I respectfully ask that you sentence the defendant to the maximum time in prison allowed under the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wallace. I cannot even begin to understand how difficult this whole process has been for you, and then to have to come in a very public forum and share how this has very personally affected you and your family members. So thank you very much for taking the time to, in such a concise and heartfelt way, express your feelings. Mr. Blair,
Thank you, Your Honor.
it's my understanding, that we have another victim in
Yes,
Mexico. Can you state your full name, please? All right, Braylon, what would you like the court to know?
I would like to know that when I was only 12, my mom was taking me home. 12 is an age where every girl needs a mom. An age where you can't even imagine your life without her. And I, of course, well, I don't have that, do I? Mainly because someone doesn't know how to just simply listen to the law. It's not that hard to just stay home when you drive, is it? I mean, I understand your thinking might be a bit impaired, you might not think correctly and process things the right way, but still, you can stay out from behind a wheel. And, I mean, my mom has survived many things, as Megan already said, and she was a very nice person. She was the kind of person who, if she only had one of something left and someone needed it, even if she needed it more, she would still give it to them, just because she liked to help people. She always tried to do what she could to make things better for other people. She would do really whatever she could, and at the time, we were struggling with money and stuff, so she would always try to do whatever she could to make sure that we could, you know, go through life, get everyday necessities, food, water, keep the electricity on, all that stuff. Stuff for our pets. And she always was trying to, like, I don't know, just make things better for me. And I know she always felt really bad because she couldn't always provide properly. And she didn't always have enough money to give me everything that I wanted or needed. And I know she felt really bad for that. I know it was out of her control. And I love my mom a lot. And honestly, I would do anything if it meant that I could just, I don't know, hear her voice or see her or hug her or anything, but I can't do that anymore. I don't get to talk to her, I don't get to speak to her. I mean, really, how many 12-year-olds, well, I'm 13 now, but how many 12-year-olds do you know that have to go see their mom in a funeral home? I have to go see their mom waiting, like with a white sheet over her on the road. How many people have to see their own mother die, be hit by a car, and then they have to, like, and then they have to run to one of their mom's friends' houses. It was dark, I couldn't see. The last things I heard her say, she didn't even get to finish her last sentence. Honestly, I skipped school that morning because I just didn't feel good in the morning, and honestly, I'm glad I did. If I didn't, I would feel even more guilty than I do. I can't really even describe how I feel most of it. But as of now, I feel, sometimes I feel guilty. Like it's my fault, even though I know it's not. Like maybe if I had just decided I wanted to stay home instead of go to school and do something other instead of lie, it's to be okay. And I'll never really understand why I had to leave. I mean, I lost everything. My house, my mom, pets, I lost some of my friends too. I mean, really, my whole life has changed just because he couldn't stay out from behind me when he was drunk. And it's not really fair. And my mom was a great person. He took a great person out of me just because of his own selfish actions. I think
so much. You have put to words something people much older than you should never have to even think about or consider. And I really appreciate how brave you are in coming to let the court know how this has impacted you. All right. Thank you. Mr. Lawyer, any additional witnesses that are going to be speaking, or I'm sorry, victims' statements today? Any arguments, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a court case. I have a 1-year-old. I can't imagine. He didn't even know he hit him. Kept going. Went back, either drank more or just passed out. When you look at the body cam, everybody there had wet themselves. They were so drunk. You know, he watched the body cam. He knows the case. He found out somebody died that night. He's had almost a year in jail. But think about this. He has 3 children and he's 41 years old. I can barely listen to this when I'm here. I can't imagine how brave she is. His response was, "What have you learned from this case? Not to trust any friends." I was peer pressured. He lists his buddies. They insisted that I drink. That's remarkable. That's a fundamental misunderstanding of why we're here, what happened that night, this entire process. In his mitigation report, he submits a picture of him because he wants to get a truck and he wants to get a motorcycle. Killed a mom, and he's looking forward to getting out and getting a motorcycle. I mean, this is not someone that has any remorse or understands what has happened here today. You know, if someone had ran over his wife while his kid watched, I don't think he would be blaming their friends for peer pressure in that situation. It's just beyond understanding at this point. But the problem is that we did reduce this, and the guidelines are inadequate. The guidelines are advisory. The problem in this case, the reduction wasn't done because he didn't kill her or that he wasn't beyond responsible for this action, because he drank that much. He drove to get more liquor. He's 41 years old. This isn't a 16-year-old who had a senior dragging him down to get buy beer for him. He took these choices. The problem is that all the witnesses, everyone in the car, everyone at the house, everyone that knew him, they're his family, they're his friends. Given the current political environment, a year from now, who knows? We would probably have nothing, and we can't have nothing at the end of the day. We had to do something. But the guidelines here, the fact that if you, I mistake before, but if you score the death or don't score the death, the guidelines here don't even change. That's just not an accurate representation of what happened here. This is never gonna, lives are ruined. There's numerous people that will never, a child that's gone. So essentially it was reduced from a 15-year. He had 15 years originally. If he had gone to trial, we would have asked for 45 years. It wouldn't have happened, but we would have asked for it. In this case, we would ask that it's 5 years, so statutorily, we would ask the court to do 36 months, which is the maximum that would be allowed in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sierra, I do want to just note, we took a brief recess and I did review the mitigation report. What else would you like to make the court aware of?
Thank you. I'd ask the court to consider what is in that report. In addition, there are a few things I'd like the court to consider. A lot of that report outlines the life Mr. Rojas-Chanito had lived prior to this and what he's been doing since. He has no criminal history prior to this. That night, September 19, 2024, is the worst mistake of his life. Something he will live with forever. He's heard statements of Ms. Steiger's daughter and sister, and those are words that he will have to hold and hear forever. And there's nothing like this situation. He deeply regrets it. It's a circumstance that he made the worst possible decision that night after drinking with his roommates. His statements, in speaking with him in the time I've been on this case, I believe are a little bit out of context in terms of the language barrier. Some he doesn't understand. I assure the court he does understand the gravity of the situation, and how he has to live with that for the rest of his life. His words really mean, what his words really mean, he regrets falling into that pattern, being around a circumstance of drinking heavily, when that's not who he was for most of his life. He came here to build a better life, to make money, to help provide for his family that remains in Mexico. And when he was there, he was not a drinker. But when he moved here, doing the things he was working in the fields, he was around the influence, and he let that overcome him. And he started to engage in that due to the difficulties of being here, as well as being away from his family. And while that doesn't excuse what happened, he would like the court to understand that. And he also put in the report that he'll never touch alcohol again. He knows the decision to drink and the decision to drive changed the lives of multiple people forever. His actions that night cannot be undone. It's caused not only great anguish for the victim and her daughter and sister, but also he is living with the pain and guilt. His family has to also bear that pain and guilt. He's just asking the court to consider, what's in that report. And a lot of what's in that report are the dreams he had now that have been interrupted and ruined by his decision, as well as the future he wants to build back up for himself, because the time he's been in jail, the time he may go to prison, that's the time that he's not providing for his family. And that's hard for him, it's painful for him. He's driven to care for his family, driven to build a future for them. And now he is, in his own words, failing right now. He wants to give his sincere apologies to the family, her daughter, her sister, for his decision that night, as well as say he is sorry to the court and his family for what he's done and for the decisions that everyone made. Thank you.
Mr. Rojas-Chanito, anything that you want to specifically say to the court?
¿Algo más que usted quiera añadir?
No, nomás que me perdone o me disculpen las familias que les afecté.
I just want to say, I'm asking the family that to forgive me for what I had done.
Pues he aprendido mucho de la Biblia y le sigo
I have learned a lot
la Biblia
from
y
the Bible, and
lo voy a seguir siempre.
I always gonna follow the Bible.
Thank you. This is a difficult case, Mr. Rojas-Chanito, because I work really hard to remember on a daily basis that there aren't really bad people, there are just really bad decisions made sometimes. And you have made a terrible decision to drink to the level of intoxication that you achieved on that night, and to then get behind the wheel. You have deprived a now 13-year-old girl of her mom. And I know you're a parent, and so I hope you feel how crushing that would be. And I know from reading the mitigation report that one of your motivators for coming here and working was to be able to afford medical care for your own mother. So I know you recognize the importance of that bond. And the guidelines here are 0 to 17 based on the reduction, but I cannot in good conscience sentence you within those guidelines.
sentenciarlo con esas.
I am limited
Y yo estoy limitada.
in this situation by 2/3 of the maximum, which is 60 months.
De los 16 meses.
And I recognize my sentence will be reviewed for its reasonableness under People v. Lockridge. A sentence is reasonable under Lockridge
Que sería
if it adheres to the principle of proportionality set forth in People v. Milborn. The principle of proportionality requires that my sentence be proportionate to the seriousness of the circumstances surrounding the offense and the offender, i.e. the nature of the offense and the background of the offender. I'll note here, you are standing before us with what appears to be no criminal history. The court views that through a lens of recognition that we might not know your full backstory as lived in Mexico. But certainly the court acknowledges the time that you have lived here and worked here, you have not accrued a criminal history. Departures from the sentencing guidelines are appropriate where the guidelines do not adequately account for important factors legitimately considered at sentencing. I'm going to list for you some of the aspects of this case not adequately accounted for in the guidelines that are leading me to impose a sentence outside the recommended range. First, we heard from Christina Wallace, a sister to Tracy Decker, the deceased. Of her mother. So not only did she lose her mom, and it wasn't in a battle to cancer, or dealing with her own demons of substance use, it was to someone making such reckless decisions that she had to witness that death. She had to see her mother taken from the bicycle, and it was very graphically described as sparks as the bike was dragged under the vehicle. Now, I don't know if Braylon has come to terms and is fully addressed these issues in counseling, but that is the type of trauma that will follow her for the rest of her adult life. On top of that, the road conditions where you were driving while under the influence, it was described as a 90-degree turn, and your vehicle was going approximately 50 to 70 miles per hour. Even if that 50 to 70 miles per hour was an exaggeration, the fact that you were so intoxicated at night on such dangerous road conditions, that can't even be taken into account by the guidelines here. You then hit this individual and you fled the scene. And I sat through the several hours of testimony during the suppression hearing. And I know you had to be awakened a couple of times in your bedroom. I cannot contemplate someone striking someone on a bicycle and then proceeding to just happily go to bed. I don't see an OV that can encompass the callousness of those actions. Not only did Braylon lose her mom that evening, she testified today that she lost the home that she grew up in that had apparently been in the family for generations. And all of her pets have had to be rehomed. That might seem like an insignificant aside while we're dealing with the death of a mother, but think of the comfort animals can offer someone. You have therapy dogs, you have emotional support animals. Not only has she lost her mother, she's lost all her familiar surroundings and probably one of the few things that brought her comfort in those moments. You have made the first step in acknowledging your actions by making a full confession on the evening that you were questioned. I hope the next step as you head to MDOC is that you really scrutinize your actions, because it is unacceptable to put the focus on peer pressure and other situations here. You have lived a hard life. You are clearly a hardworking man that cares about your family. And hopefully the change that this brings is all positive for you. But the court has to punish these actions. I'm going to sentence you to 36 months to 60 months in MDOC. You're going to have You're going to have 340 days credit. You'll have to pay $130 crime victims fee, a $68 state fee, and there will be no court costs ordered. I hope you spend the remainder of the 36 months continuing to read the Bible and work on yourself and your accountability. This sentence, as I have indicated, is far more tailored to the facts and circumstances of this case and proportionate to the offense and offender than a sentence within the guideline range. Mr. Blair, do we have any nollie-pros?
Yes, Your Honor, I provided a copy to defense counsel along with appellate
Made me
rights.
sick.
Thank you.
Yeah, wait, murder.
Sir, you have the right to ask the Court of Appeals to review the conviction and sentence. You have the right to the assistance of an attorney for that appeal. If you can't afford your own, we'll appoint one for you. If you do wish to make that request, you'll need to fill out the paperwork we're providing you and turn it back into the court within 42 days of today's date. I want to extend the court's personal apology that you have had to go through this. And if I was not limited by the law in this situation, Mr. Rojas-Chanito would be headed to prison for a much longer period of time. I hope you understand that. All right, we're adjourned. Yes, we'll go over record for a few minutes before 10:45. Thank you, Mr. Blair. Nice to see you in the courtroom, sir.
I'm actually gonna stay here for Mr. Jacobian's motion today, so.